This is not going to be like this. We have put it in order. We have recovered our strength. But still, even if we work our arse off under these conditions, it is not possible to close the wounds opened by the First World War and stand up again.
Welcome to Austria, where your first accomplishment is simply surviving birth in a century that has the geopolitical stability of a Jenga tower in an earthquake. I want to tell you something before continuing the video. Today is my birthday, and I would be very happy if you subscribe and comment as a birthday gift. Let's continue watching now. Your first memory? It's not a warm embrace or lullabies. It's your father's permanently disappointed face. Because while some kids get bedtime stories, you get life lessons in why you'll never be good enough, a theme that sticks around like an unwanted house guest. Childhood, if you can call it childhood in the early 20th century. Your father, a customs officer with the emotional range of a rock, believes that an old-fashioned beating is the pinnacle of love. Apparently, he's not the hugging type. You learn quickly that hitting back is a bad idea. So is breathing too loudly or existing. School starts, and to your surprise, it turns out you have ideas. A lot of them. But unfortunately, your grades are more like, please reconsider your life choices, rather than, wow, child prodigy. Your favorite subject? Art. And your dad's idea? That's cute. Now get a real job. He wants you to be a civil servant. You want to paint dreamy landscapes. You argue. He wins. It won't go on like this. Your father dies. Now this is usually where most people would reflect, mourn, maybe even feel a little sad. You take it as your official cue to ignore all of his wishes and double down on the whole, I'm going to be an artist thing. Vienna, here you come. Ah, Vienna, the city of dreams. Or, in your case, the city of no thank you. You apply to the Academy of Fine Arts, fully expecting them to recognize your genius. Instead, you get a rejection letter that basically says, have you considered a different career path? Like, maybe anything else? Turns out, the world isn't ready for your unique brand of architectural doodles. But no worries, surely they'll change their mind next year. They do not. Suddenly, you're homeless, which is a real plot twist. You go from dreaming of a prestigious art career to painting postcards for tourists who just want a quick souvenir. You live in a shelter, stewing in rejection, bitterness, and what historians will later recognize as not a great combination. Then comes World War I, and let's be honest, it's probably the most structure your life has ever had. You sign up, get a uniform, and finally have something to do. Turns out, you're not terrible at soldiering. You deliver messages, dodge bullets, and survive more explosions than a Hollywood action hero. You even get a medal for bravery, which will become your absolute favorite fun fact about yourself. You try to climb the ranks, but even the military is like, hey, let's not put this guy in charge of anything important. Smart move, honestly. The war ends, and Germany is having what can only be described as a rough time. The economy is tanking, people are unhappy, and suddenly, having a loud voice and a strong opinion is a marketable skill. You find yourself drawn to politics, mainly because shouting at people and blaming others for your problems is way easier than self-reflection. You join a small political party, and because you have the charisma of a very angry motivational speaker, you climb the ranks fast. Before you know it, you're leading rallies, writing manifestos, and convincing an alarming number of people that you have all the answers. Step 1. Rebrand. You take your tiny, struggling party and give it a fresh look, a catchy name, and some truly unfortunate graphic design choices. You start making speeches that, objectively speaking, are just TED Talks if TED Talks were about blaming everyone else for your personal failures. Germany is struggling, and you present yourself as the solution. You give people someone to blame, a dream to chase, and most importantly, a strong jawline for propaganda posters. People eat it up. Fast forward a few years, and boom, you're chancellor. Somehow, the guy who couldn't get into art school now has an entire country taking orders from him. Talk about a career pivot. What follows is basically a speed run of how to be history's worst person. You consolidate power, remove opposition, and make the absolute worst possible decisions on a global scale. You start wars, invade countries like it's a personal hobby, and generally make sure your name will be remembered, but not in the way you probably hoped. Your leadership strategy? It's a mix of paranoia, bad decisions, and an overwhelming belief in your own genius. Turns out, believing you're always the smartest person in the room is a great way to ensure you're not. You ignore your generals, make terrible calls, and somehow decide that invading Russia in the winter is a fantastic idea. Spoiler alert, it is not. Your empire, which you built on arrogance and bad planning, starts crumbling. Your enemies close in, your once loyal followers start jumping ship, and suddenly, the guy who demanded absolute loyalty is finding himself increasingly alone. Your final days are spent in a bunker, watching everything fall apart. The city above you burns, your enemies march closer, and reality finally catches up. Turns out, history always has the last laugh. And so, the story ends. Not with glory, not with triumph, but with a pathetic whimper in an underground bunker. Your once grand ambitions reduced to nothing more than a cautionary tale in every history book ever written. Moral of the story? Maybe just take the rejection letter, find a new career path, and don't try to take over the world. But hey, hindsight is 20/20. Today is my birthday. I would be very happy if you subscribe and comment.